Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price this Wednesday. As I just got our on-chain exchange flow for the day, and I was waiting to get this video out until we saw this. And look at this, another $200 million plus of Bitcoin leaving exchanges today. And we have almost double the amount of USDT coming onto exchanges from what happened yesterday. And that's exactly what we used to predict this move in the immediate short term. We said that this is the first time we're seeing USDT come on exchanges. That's a little bit of an odd puzzle piece. If we were going to assume downside, that's usually a bullish puzzle piece. And so it's not a surprise that we're up today. Major move. The news is attaching it to the Joe Biden narrative, but the charts have everything on them. We don't need to think about what the media is attaching to price action because they're always going to attach narratives to price action. Regulation has been in this market since 2017. It's only allowed it to mature. Not a surprise. For those that have been tuned in here to the Snipers channel, the #1 cryptocurrency channel on the internet over the last 5 years, making a video every single day. Subscribe if you've yet to do so. But more importantly, Snipers, turn on that bell, post notifications to get our updates first. And so as I was looking at the charts today, I wanted to make sure I wanted to be home for this video to see what was happening to the revolving parts of the market, because part of this channel that is special is that we are four-dimensional, which means that we covered the S&P 500, Bitcoin dominance, others dominance, gold, maybe even looking at the gold to Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin against the money supply. All of these things are important to us on a daily basis. And why is this important? Because during a volatile move, I've said this in the past, what's most important is to look at the revolving parts because you only get a glimpse over what's changing when the volatile move is occurring. And so with Bitcoin seeing a massive move today to 41,950, as a matter of fact, if we look at the chart, Bitcoin right now, as we speak, 41,915 US dollars. Not a surprise once again. We've had this number on our chart for so long here on the Snipers channel. We knew 41,950 was the major level, and we're seeing consolidation right now around this range. Bitcoin having a cup of coffee, just taking a little bit of a break. Not a bad thing. And we knew this was going to come because we also addressed the fact that we haven't seen institutional sell pressure to justify continuation of the downside just yet. As a matter of fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen institutions buy the dip. Since the Ukraine and Russia crisis, we've only seen institutions come into the market buying at 35,000, buying at 38,000, and then we also saw them buy at 41,950 in the past. They haven't yet bought 44,800, which we'll talk about in just a second, but that's the most important resistance that we're going to really have to dive into in the charts. But just realize this, right now it's not a surprise that Bitcoin's at 41,950 after coming to test 38,000, because all we saw was retail sell pressure and fear drive Bitcoin's price down from 45,000 to 38,000. And then guess what? Institutions came back and just kept buying more. And that's why we follow institutional time frames here on the Snipers channel, which is the 6-hour chart, not the 240-minute chart, which is the 4-hour chart that all of the traders are on. Institutions are not going to be printing their volume on those time frames. So a lot to look at today, but here's the thing that you've got to realize that we've been covering here on the Snipers channel. It's the fact that altcoins are not seeing the benefits of this move. Bitcoin up 8% while Ethereum only up 5% right now. And there's a reason for that. Ethereum to Bitcoin just breached a major support level here at 65,000 Satoshis. And that wasn't a surprise because last time Bitcoin had a volatile move, Snipers, remember what we saw. We saw altcoins sell off into Bitcoin. And so that gave us a hint that altcoins were not going to be benefiting off of Bitcoin's upside moves as much as they may be during an altcoin season. And what does that typically mean? Well, altcoin charts are typically market sentiment indicators. And I say that because the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart's a leading indicator for all of the other altcoins. And so we're seeing downside move there. I'm not going to focus too much on that right now, but what I will say is that this time around, because it's important to get a glimpse of the revolving parts during the volatile moves, what's happening right now? Well, Ethereum is moving into Bitcoin, fueling this push to the upside for Bitcoin. And we're also seeing altcoins outside of Ethereum push into Bitcoin, allowing Bitcoin to see this upside move. So nothing's changed there. What we do want to talk about is Bitcoin dominance forming new yearly highs with this move to the upside. Now, what does that tell me? Well, if people are moving into Bitcoin from altcoins, that means there's still some fear in the cryptocurrency market. Even that we're seeing Bitcoin up right now, there's still fear with retail, which means institutions can still manipulate and take control of the price action, possibly to the downside at some point, because they know there's still fear in the market. And so we have to address the fact that Bitcoin dominance moved up today. We want Bitcoin dominance to come down if we want to assume altcoin season is going to continue, if we want to assume Bitcoin's price can swiftly move to the upside. But right now, we're obviously seeing this move because altcoins are shifting into Bitcoin. And so that's where some of the money is coming from. Now, the other thing to understand is the fact that we also have USDT coming onto exchanges, and that could still fuel more upside momentum. Now, what we're going to be monitoring right now with Bitcoin sandwiched between this 100-day and this 50-day moving average, which it's been in this area before. And so that's why it's so important right now that we can get a test of this $44,800 level for a fourth and fifth time, actually, because that would allow the price to come and test this macro bearish trend neckline that Bitcoin has already faced several times from this head and shoulder pattern. And at some point or another, unless we can get above this, we cannot assume Bitcoin is going to see upside, because if we keep getting rejected, that will lead to downside. So we need to conquer, and now it's getting a little bit higher, not 44,800, maybe around the $46,000 level, but we need to come and get there. And the first confirmation of that is getting above 44,800. If we can just see a full daily candle above 41,950, I think that would be the first sign that we have the potential to come test 44,800. So far, on the 6-hour chart, things don't look bad, but I will say that we've yet to really see the institutional accumulation that we've been seeing recently. As you can see, this right here is pretty much the amount of institutional buy volume that we've seen come in. And the last time we really saw a significant amount of institutional volume was right before March 1st. But so far since March, it looks like the institutions have just let Bitcoin slide around inside of this sideways range, which also wasn't a surprise for here. Those tuned in, we know that the monthly MACD bearish crossover from December to January was most likely going to cause a lot of sideways price action in the market. And what that also affects is the altcoins, because during downside moves, the altcoins will bleed out. And during the upside moves, they won't see as much upside in a market where Bitcoin dominance is moving up and Bitcoin is moving sideways. So at this point, when it comes to TA, what we need to realize is Bitcoin's having a cup of coffee, taking a break here at 41,950, which is great. We're still below the monthly open, sitting at 43,000 US dollars. We can get some confirmations and candles above 43,000. That might be a nice confirmation that we can come and test 44,800. But the real test of 44,800 being the fifth test tells me that there is a likelihood we break above to test that head and shoulder neckline, break above 46,000. And so I think that all eyes at this point is at this $44,800 level, because 41,950 and 38,000 are areas where we know institutions have brought volume in the past. And so it's not a surprise to see price still move sideways along this range. So the main thing to realize is I'm not surprised by seeing this move today. But what it does give us is a very strong confirmation that our thesis has been correct, that altcoins are still selling off despite Bitcoin seeing an upside move. We're not seeing the confidence in altcoins. And the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart this time around did breach 65,000 Satoshis, which is a major support level. And so what we can assume now is the next level is 53,500 Satoshis for the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart to come and potentially test. And this right here is certainly an indication that there's still fear in the crypto market, which means that downside scenarios are still on the table. Now, the DXY rejecting this major resistance exactly as we predicted, allowing this move to happen. And so nothing really a surprise here. S&P 500 did not breach its recent consolidation lows throughout the last few days. And that was the other piece of the puzzle that we were waiting for. And we knew that if it didn't breach this recent low, that there was a very strong chance Bitcoin could see continuation upside. So we're still seeing some good price action with the S&P 500. We haven't breached the recent consolidation lows, which is what we want to assume Bitcoin doesn't have any downside on the table. So it looks like everything has been exactly as predicted. What I will say is the Euro 100 looks like it's really seeing a strong move to the upside, which is good, because if we can also get international markets to come in the favor of the bulls, that would be a great thing, because the only thing that's really in the favor of the bulls is S&P 500, with Japan and China and even the Euro 100 breaching its recent consolidation lows. This is just the first time the Euro 100 is seeing a relief rally. So the international markets have been strongly against Bitcoin. And then it's good to look at gold, because if gold is back in a bearish trend, that would be a great thing to assume that there's no fear in the traditional markets, right? Because traditional markets are a lot larger, with gold being over $11 trillion asset, Bitcoin only $1 trillion. We want to monitor the real institutional hedge, which is gold. And so far, we are just doing a garden variety test of the weekly open, which makes me assume that there could still be upside here for gold. And that could change if we breach below 1970, with the current price at 1992. If we stay above 1970, we can still assume further upside for gold, in my opinion, which means that there's still fear in the markets. And with gold approaching its previous all-time high, I would assume that it's ready to break into price discovery at some point or another, and that sooner or later we're going to be breaking into new all-time highs on a sort of daily basis, with the exuberant rally there for gold. And then just like we used to predict this downside with this chart yesterday, this gold to Bitcoin chart, this allowed us to also predict the upside move for Bitcoin to USDT with this rejection of this major level. We were assuming this was not going to see any further upside. And so we want to see continuation for this chart. We want to see, and even gold could break into price discovery, but as long as Bitcoin keeps moving up and outperforms, the gold to Bitcoin chart will continue down. So we want to monitor if this is the real move here, what we've been waiting for. If that's the move, then that's great. So a lot of things happening. U.S. oil finally cooling off, down 12%, breaching its weekly open, but still above its monthly open. So I think that at this point, we want to assume maybe a little bit of a slowdown for U.S. oil, because it did come below the weekly open, unlike gold, but it's still above the monthly open. So we can still assume price action maintaining above 100 for the most part, with price currently at 109. And then when we look at the Coinbase stock, for example, the most crypto-centric stock in the traditional markets, one thing I want to mention is the candle low from the recent consolidation was 156.31, and from this recent candle low, we stayed above that, forming a higher low, which is bullish. So that's very good for the most crypto-centric traditional asset in the market. And so that's a nice puzzle piece. So really, to wrap up, I would say that more than anything, snipers, none of this has been a surprise. I mean, it's almost like we have less to talk about today because everything just kind of came true. And if you agree, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, but we've been so accurate on this channel. I mean, it's almost mind-blowing and scary, because at some point I'm not going to be right. I'm not always right. But right now things have been very clear. And so what are the clear signs that are showing? It's number one, there's still fear in the cryptocurrency market because of what's happening to altcoins. And the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart did breach 65,000 Satoshis with this upside move today. That's a big concern for the macro perspective, because that means that we might be seeing this fear prolong another couple of months, maybe another year or so, right? So we want to monitor Ethereum to Bitcoin here, but so far it looks like it's showing weakness, and then it's leading the altcoins outside of Ethereum to also show weakness, and that we could assume the upside move that we're seeing for Bitcoin today is garden variety market behavior, with altcoins moving into Bitcoin, probably fueling this upside move, and then mainly, let's say, institutional manipulation and retail volume fueling this move. But we haven't seen decisive institutional buy volume again, because we have seen it at 41,950, but we're not seeing it right now. And so what I will say is that it could go sideways for a bit. And other puzzle piece to watch is the S&P 500 up 2% today. Did it bottom out finally? Because if it did, it's not breaching that recent consolidation low. That's also a huge, big win for Bitcoin, because we've been wanting to see these green days for traditional markets. And I told you guys 2 days ago that all we really need is a green day in traditional markets, and that'll really fuel Bitcoin, because it's been so strong against traditional markets, with its monthly candle not breaching its lows from January to the February monthly candle, and the S&P 500 breaching its January monthly candle lows in February. We knew in the macro monthly perspective that Bitcoin was stronger than traditional markets. So I mean, it really feels like there's so little to talk about today, and it's just looking at charts and saying, okay, yeah, we knew this was going to happen, and it happened. We knew this was going to happen, and it happened. So, congratulations for those that have been tuned in here, the #1 cryptocurrency channel on the internet. I'm trying to really be as humble as possible about this, but we were on the dot with this move to the upside yesterday. We saw the USDT coming onto exchanges, and we saw so much Bitcoin leave exchanges yesterday. That was very different than what we saw over the last few days monitoring these on-chain metrics. So it's cool to see continuation of what we saw on-chain happen today with another $200 million plus of Bitcoin leaving exchanges and more USDT coming onto exchanges. So it's nice to see what's happening. We really want to conquer now the $46,000 level for a more macro confirmation that we could maybe even re-enter price discovery soon for Bitcoin before the end of 2022. And really, the more we reject that neckline from that head and shoulder pattern, the more it could fuel bearish price action. So we don't want to see Bitcoin at this point spend too much time below that neckline, but it's been spending time below that neckline. So I think that that's the one thing that we need to see. And I would like to see altcoins do well. I would like to see the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart move to the upside here soon, because that would also take away that thesis that there's fear still in the cryptocurrency market. So I think we need a little bit of time to internalize this move. I really believe that we've been following the markets quite accurately. And so it looks like gold wants to see itself move into price discovery. And because that's happening, we could assume right now there is a lot of fear with the equity markets and the institutional capital in the equity markets. So, gold being an $11 trillion plus asset, it's a lot more significant when it's moving up than when something like Bitcoin's moving up. When it comes to seeing how much fear is in equity markets, and that's where all the money is sitting right now in equity markets, right? So that's why we want to monitor that. The S&P 500 is still struggling, but it looks like we're seeing early signs of a rescue operation. Let's see what happens. They could just pull the rug here. And so I think with Bitcoin, more importantly, we have a strong thesis that it's going to stay the stronger asset against equity markets over the next few weeks into the next few months, as long as the narratives don't change, right? With what happened with Joe Biden's executive order, I think that that's just some narrative that was attached to the price action, but it wasn't the reason for the price action. They'll always attach narratives to justify price action, but it's all on the charts. And the last thing I will say is this. One thing we've been tracking here for Bitcoin, if we want to assume some targets, is this ascending triangle on the line chart. Why on the line chart? Because the line chart just factors in the closes for Bitcoin. And what we'll see here is on the daily chart, when we only factor in the closes, we are in a very clear ascending triangle. And we've maintained the support of this ascending triangle to the dot. There's no way to draw it where it doesn't hold. We've held the support very clearly inside of this ascending triangle. It looks like the breakout is at 44,800. I think that that's where we could kind of draw the ceiling for this market structure. And so this is the trend in market structure that Bitcoin is more confidently in right now. And so we can assume that it could at least get towards 70% of the apex before making a move and still be bullish. And so we're looking at the end of this month that we need to make a move outside of this market structure. And so at this point, it looks like it's going to get to the point where if we come back to 38,000, we're starting to breach the market structure. Remember, this is a line chart, factors in the closes. And so we could really just wrap up the video by saying this. And happy International Women's Day, by the way. I know we just posted a short about that. But if we breach above 44,800, that's a confirmation that we're going to invalidate the head and shoulder pattern. We're going to get into a range with a resistance of 58,353 and a support of 49,700. We can also make the assumption that if we breach above 44,800, we're going to get back above all daily moving averages that are significant, like the 50, 100, and 200 period. And we're going to get above 49,700, but we might pit stop at 49,700 just to see some sideways price action. If we see a downside move here, that could affect altcoins if we continue to see Bitcoin dominance rise. But then let's say we elongate inside of this triangle. Now we can look at downside moves towards the $30,000 to $28,000 level based on the market structure. If we elongate too far, that's also not a good thing. So we don't want to stay sideways too far, especially not into April at this point. But right now we have some room to go inside of this ascending triangle. They're probably going to want to keep price here for some time unless we see decisive moves and outside revolving parts. But just realize this, snipers, we are playing inside of a range with a resistance of 44,800 and a major breakout potentially on the table if we break above 44,800, and a support of 41,950. Yes, we are coming up and down between 41,950 and below it. So if we stay below 41,950, now we don't have 44,800 on the table, we have 38,000 back on the table. And so with Bitcoin below 41,950, the range support is 38,000. With Bitcoin above 41,950, the range resistance is 44,800. We've seen institutional buyers come in. So far, we haven't seen institutional sell pressure, so we'll monitor that as well. If we see another institutional sell spike of volume, then that's not a good puzzle piece, but we haven't seen it yet. So hope this video made sense. I know this was an interesting video because all of our predictions have came true. And so now we might need to just let the market settle, let the dust kind of fade away and then move away, and for us to come and clean things up and look at what's happening again, right? So hope you enjoyed today's video. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm if you support this content, snipers. I appreciate each and every one of you tuned in the channel. Turn on the post notifications, hit that bell if you've yet to do so to make sure you get our urgent updates first. Today wasn't as urgent because it was just really kind of looking at what we've already predicted and just kind of saying, okay, well, it's true, you know? So thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel today. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Snipers out.